right hand say, my Father, my Maker.
My Father, my Maker.
As I pray this morning, whoever has projected darkness against my destiny, as I pray, light of God, shine in my life, shine in my direction. Open your mouth and turn it to praise. In the name of Jesus. Listen. Some of you are joking. No? You are joking. Forget makeup. Forget makeup. I met my wife on natural. She wasn't on makeup, she was on low cut. My wife, she was on low cut and no makeup. That's how I met her. What dared me to her was a low cut and a natural face. Am I speaking? It's not, I'm not saying makeup is bad, don't get me wrong. But my brother, waiting go happen most times does not need makeup.
Yes, sir.
Am I speaking here?
Yes, sir.
We were somewhere in this my travel, and we were about to take a drop to go to where we were going to, and suddenly one of us was pressed, and we just turned and saw an Italian restaurant. On a normal note, I've never had any reason to go there. Am I speaking here?
Yes, sir.
Because to me, I don't understand what they do, so I don't trouble myself. We know about some areas when we need to touch some things that we are familiar with. So because somebody was pressed, we had to go there to use their restroom. So why we're just okay, let's check for something so that they will not understand that we only just came to ease ourselves. So when we entered, before you know, one of the babies saw something. Before you know, we saw something. And we just took some light, small things. Before you know what's happening, there was patronage in the shop. Am I speaking here?
Yes,
and the Lord said to me, he said, the thing where they bring favor, at times, you know, they make sense.
Yes, sir.
Just. You are going to pray. Anywhere darkness have been projected against my destiny. Man of God, the Bible says for 3 days, no man saw themselves. A lady under dark cover cannot be seen.
Yes, sir.
A business that have been covered with darkness cannot be seen. Am I speaking to somebody?
Yes, sir.
A ministry covered with darkness cannot be seen. Am I talking here? But in Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, the Bible says, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Bible says, and the Spirit of God moved. There is a move of the Spirit in this house. Amen. And God said, let there be light. And the Bible says, and there was light. In John 1 verse 5, I think so, the Bible says, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Am I speaking to somebody? As you begin to pray now, the Bible says, and on that day in Acts, the Bible says, and the light shined in the prison. The Bible says, when Saul was on his way to Damascus, and the light again shined. In Acts chapter 9, I prophesy upon someone hearing the sound of my voice. The light of heaven is about to shine. I said the light of heaven is about to shine. It will shine against every dark projection. I don't know who has projected darkness over your credentials. I don't know who has projected darkness over your marital destiny. As I hear your amen this morning, the light of God will shine. Lift your hand and say, my Father, my fighter.
My Father, my fighter.
As I pray, every projection of darkness, by your light, release me by fire. Open your mouth and turn it to Jesus. Somebody shout, light of God.
Light of God.
Shine in my dark areas. Shine over the darkness of my destiny. Wherever darkness has been projected against me, light of God. Shine in my dark world. Shine in my dark situation. Shine. 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 Light of God. Shine. 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 Open your mouth and turn it in in the name of Jesus. The light will shine in your life this morning. Hey, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Huh? God created the heavens and the earth.
Yes, sir.
Is it true?
Yes, sir.
In verse 2, it said, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. It said, for the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And then God said, let there be light. Yes, sir. Why will the first creation be light? Somebody say light.
Light.
Because until you are lighted, you cannot be sighted.
Yes, sir.
Am I speaking to somebody?
Yes, sir.
I hear you, sir. Hey. He said, we behold ourselves in the mirror, and our face were changed, and we were lighted, and we're not ashamed. Am I speaking to somebody? A person in darkness is ashamed. When light comes, every other thing comes. Am I speaking to somebody? Somebody shall, light of God shine in my life.
Light of God shine in my life.
This month shine in my path.
This month shine in my path.
He said, for the word of the Lord is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. Somebody shall, light of God.
Light of God.
Shine in my life.
Shine in my life.
Can I prophesy?
Yes, sir.
At this junction, your helpers go see you. I say your helpers go see you. Because your light is about to shine. If you believe it, shout fire 3 times.
Fire! Fire! Fire!
Wait. And God said, let there be light. Oh, Bible said, and there was light. In John 1:5, he said, and the light shineth in where?
In darkness.
Talk to me, church.
In darkness.
He said, and the light shineth where?
In darkness.
Talk to me. In where?
In darkness.
Remember the prayer in Exodus 10:21-23. He said to Moses, stretch your hand to heaven and call for darkness over the people. As there are divine priests, so also there are demonic priests.
Yes, sir.
Who understand the workings of nature. In Manchester, Papa was talking on settling destiny matters with nature. Am I speaking to someone?
Yes, sir.
And darkness, when darkness is projected against, no matter your looks, you know, they see some people very fine, but nobody they approach them.
Yes, sir.
What do? To you have makeup, yet you are not coming up because darkness have been projected. This month, God will light you for you to be sighted. Hey! Darkness was upon the face of the deep, and God said, let there be light. There was light. Genesis 1:3. In John 1:5, it's and the light shined in darkness, and the darkness what comprehended it not. In Acts chapter 12 verse 7, Bible says, and the angel came to Peter's rescue in his prison. I don't know who is in the prison of life. I don't know where destiny has kept you. To be financially frustrated is to be in the financial prison of hell, of the devil. And the Bible says, and the light shined. Somebody shout, the light shined. When the light shined in the prison, Bible said the chains were broken. In Acts chapter 9, Paul got a consent to afflict, a permission to persecute the church. But on his way to Damascus, I think in verse 3, the Bible says, and a light shined from heaven. Am I talking to somebody? I hear this. Oh, the light is about to shine. The light of God is about to shine. It's about to shine in your dark spot. It's about to expose you. Your helpers will begin to know you. You will be identified. Your marriage is about to happen. Your wedding is about to be celebrated. Your business is about to explode, because the light is about to shine. If you are that person, shout fire 7 times.
Fire! 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 Fire!
With the hands and shout hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Genesis 40:23. Genesis 40:23. Somebody shout, oh God.
Oh God.
I can't hear you. Somebody shout, oh God.
Oh God.
Remember me.
Remember me.
He said, yet did not the chief butler remember Joseph, but forgot him. Did what? Forgot him. In Genesis 41 verse 9, Anikaha, Animaha. I sense power here.
Yes, sir.
He said, then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my fault this day. In chapter 40, the Bible says he forgot. Forgot. Bible says, yet did he forgot Joseph. But in Genesis 41, he said, I do remember my fault this day. There are people you have helped in life who have abandoned you.
Yes, sir.
There are people in your life who are supposed to lift you, but they have forgotten you. They didn't forget you, they forgot you. Forgot. Forgot. That means it was a critical situation. I was talking to some set of pastors. I said, there are times as a pastor you don't need to kill yourself. That your anointing lifted the butler and the baker, you are still in the condition, does not mean that you are less anointed. There are times when your prayers have made people great, yet you are still in the prison of life. Joseph prayed for the butler and the baker, and they were elevated to their position. Their prophecy came to pass, but the dream of Joseph was still in the prison. It's only a matter of time. Am I speaking to someone here? That's why he said that he maketh all things beautiful in his time. Wait. There is a question in the school of wisdom, which I am a student. I am working on. I want to drop it in this service. Somebody may help me later. How come the teachers that taught the student are not as rich as the student, yet it was what they taught the students that make the student who they are? The billionaires of our generation were once students to a teacher. Why are teachers not as great as their student? The prophecy of Joseph lifted them, but 2 years he was in his condition. The Bible said they forgot. When there's no language to explain your situation, they put a language. They forgot. They didn't forget. They didn't forgotten. They forgot. Are busy like that in your Bible? 40 verse say they forgot. I prophesy. They will remember you this one. Somebody said September to remember.
September to remember.
Because I will be remembered.
Because I will be remembered.
My helpers will remember me. My yesterday will speak for me. If that amen is better, it will happen in a heart. Hear this. In the place of prayers is when you take it, you personalize it for yourself. Lift your right hand and say, by fire, by thunder.
By fire, by thunder.
Father, as I pray.
Father, as I pray.
Somebody say, Lord, as I pray.
Lord, as I pray.
Make my helpers.
Make my helpers.
To remember me.
To remember me.
This month.
This month.
Open your mouth and turn it to praise. In the name of Jesus. Amen. Church, in this ministry which I am a stakeholder, one of the weapons that have been handed over to us is prayers.
Yes, sir.
If you are not ready to pray, change your church. With due respect, I may not be your pastor. I'm not driving you. I love you to be my member. But I don't want a mixed multitude. Because when the people that God has given you are with you, you make progress in ministry without struggle.
Yes, sir.
I don't want Egyptians to mix up with my Israelite. Am I talking to somebody?
Yes, sir.
You're going to listen, church. Time is my friend. Somebody say, Lord, go ahead of me.
Lord, go ahead of me.
I may have said it here before, but I say it again. When God goes ahead of you to Egypt, you don't stay in the queue. The brothers of Joseph didn't know that their brother was Joseph. But they just got surprised that as soon as they got to Egypt, they were probably on the queue for their turn, because everybody were going to Egypt for Sukkot. Am I talking here? And suddenly they just stopped them and said, excuse us, follow us. Say, but I'm supposed to be in the queue. Say, don't bother. And they took them in on a special VIP treatment. How do I know? He said, the Lord sent me. I've never been to the United Kingdom. I went for the very first time this time. But when I landed, sir, it was obvious that God was ahead. A family said, you impacted us in Germany and took my matter, sir. Took my matter. When I say take my matter, it took self-control for me to maintain my status quo, because you could see a people who were ready to let go anything. You don't eat your future today. If you eat your dinner for breakfast, you will beg in the evening. many people losing it. Favor is sweet, but common sense helps you maintain it.
Yes, sir.
A man takes you to a shop and says, pick any phone of your choice with his credit card. And that's when you want to buy the phone. Even you naturally won't buy for yourself. Not considering that even if this man is under the influence to favor you, he still has a life to live after he leaves you. Am I speaking? And one of our daughters just came. He said, Daddy, I came to attend the meeting 1, then 2 to see you. And then he greeted me. Someone say, hey. You know, when the angels say, hey, Mary. When that kind hailing come, you know, say, Mary won't get belly. Huh? Not be everybody they greet you, you get belly. When the angel, hey, Mary, a virgin got pregnant. Am I speaking here? Yes, there are some hailings that gets your account pregnant. Yes, sir. And the daughter said, Daddy, I came to hear you. May you not meet fools in your life. Amen. You will not meet who you should miss. Amen. May you not miss who you should meet. Amen. Another one said, Daddy, can you move down to London? We just want to have you as a family. Oh, Manu, Abaha, Shekila, Bodosa. Even if I know, each time there is a family visitation, there is a challenge that you either need to solve immediately or you will solve later. Because when Elisha went to the place of the Shunammite woman, that was after which the child died and he hid the child. When Elijah went to the widow of Zarephath, the child died, he hid the child. So there are times you bring a prophet to your house to solve a problem or to be available to a problem that may arise. Am I speaking here? Yes, when sir. Jesus went to the house of Peter's mother-in-law, there was a sickness that need to be healed. Am I speaking here? You feel no get problem now, but place value on your prophet. Am I speaking? Yes, it was awesome. Somebody say, Lord, go ahead of me.
Lord, go ahead of me.
Church, I give you practical revelational prayers. I don't pray because I should pray. I pray because I should pray. And I pray. One, as the Lord reveals, as scriptures expose. I hold on to prayers. And I watch my prayers become a manifestation, as it were. Lift your 2 hands to heaven. Hear my cry, O Lord. Attend unto my. From the ends of the earth will I cry unto thee. Oh, when this overwhelmed, please lead me to the rock that is higher than thou. That is higher than thou. That is higher than I. That is higher than I. That is higher. Hear my cry, hear my cry. Hear my cry, Lord. Attend unto my. From the ends of the earth will I cry unto thee. Oh, when my heart when Jesus, please lead me to the rock that is higher than I. That is higher than I. Lift your 2 hands and sing it. That is higher than I. That is higher than I. That is higher than I. That is Church, let me teach you something. Stretch your 2 hands towards me. You know, I don't know how to say this, but let me say it. I traveled with my family, and it wasn't funny, but God was faithful. Now imagine in the midst when you have a need, and then you hear God say to you, Whatever it is that will come to you as a favor, he said, don't touch it. He said, let it be the first fruit of your UK entry. You know, let me talk to you. Don't go after money. Go after God. In God, you will always find money. But in money, you may not find God. Don't ever live your life by your condition. Live your life by His revelation. Most times, faith is faith when it places a demand on you in the midst of plenty. But faith can be faith when it places a demand on you in the midst of scarcity. I believe personally that the rugged, personal, better explanation of faith is when faith places a demand on you in the midst of scarcity. When I mean scarcity, I'm talking about when there is a reason not to, maybe the reason to. There is a mystery I will unveil when we're talking about money matters. And it's a mystery that said, there is he that scattereth, yet increaseth. And there is he that gathereth, and tendereth to poverty. Let me give you a truth. A people who practice covenant, there is a statement that have been told us in time past that is still being said on repeated basis that drove me into thinking as my nature is. What is the statement? I heard, I don't know if it's Rockefeller, that one of the richest men, as it were, that man was giving God 90% of his tithe. I've heard it said about certain men of God in our time. Our father pays God in an unexplainable manner. Am I speaking? And then I began to ask myself, how do I survive with 10% when I give him 90%? That drove me to this place of thinking. Because a lot of people are quick to pray, which is very important, but they don't take advantage of the place of meditation, which is thinking. And I began to think, and I discovered that when God is a priority, here it is, there are two sets of great people. There are people who knows the cost of block to be landlord. And there are others who don't know the cost of block, yet they are landlord.
Yes, sir.
There are people, two persons on board flying. One knows an agent, another one does not know an agent. Because as soon as he announces his artillery, somebody puts him on board. And the difference most time between the two persons is the practice of covenant. You will grow to a point where people will sit down, some will lie about your greatness, some will blaspheme your greatness, some will be confused by your greatness, but they will meet and all of them will be analyzing what's the secret of your rising. You know why? Because you get to a point where even the ravens will show, the brooks will appear. Why? Because at that time, it may not be just mortal men that are traceable to your breakthrough. It has to do with divinity orchestrating matters.
Okay.
That's why I come boldly to tell you, Psalm 50 verse 5, gather my saint unto me who have entered into covenant with me. My sacrifice. Hear me well. I will not empty you as your pastor, but I will teach you. When you are taught and you understand the place of practice, you become fat. You become fat. You grow fatter and fatter. Can I talk to you?
Yes, sir.
You have been living your life on calculator. What has become of you? Is it not time to live by the mysteries of scriptures? The mysteries of scriptures. You count yam to plant yam. You don't count rice to plant rice. You scatter rice. They scatter rice. A rubber plantation is not a product of planting one. Plant a rubber tree. In a short while, a rubber tree will give you a plantation. Because when it gets up, it splits. And that's how it grows. That's what the Bible said. There is he that scattereth, yet increaseth. If you are good, keep being good.
Yes, sir.
Keep being good. I told somebody, I said, God just brought you to further strengthen the heart muscles for a continuity of his divine project. I bless you as your pastor.
Amen.
I prayed for you.
I receive.
I thought I could stay away from you for a while, as in practical, not spiritual, until the heat came. And it dawned on me that, bros, there's an emptiness somewhere. Everything almost started reacting. I had to change my ticket. I said, I had to go house. Church, can I talk to you? Hear me well. If you are genuinely called and you know the purpose for which you are called, I will tell you something. Are you aware that Joseph in the palace was an unfulfilled man? That he was in the palace, living in the ambience of the palace, the uniqueness. Let me talk to you at times. The cars, the houses, the breakthroughs, the class you fly, the places you stay, it's not equal to your fulfillment in destiny. Joseph was in the palace, as it were, putting on the king's ring, wearing on a royal robe, but yet his dream was not fulfilled. He was living in the class of ambience. But when was his dream fulfilled? The Bible says, as soon as he saw his brothers, he said, this day I remember my dream. So no matter how successful you are, if you don't do what you were born to do, you have not fulfilled your dream. It doesn't matter the palace. That's why at times it doesn't matter how great you are. Anytime you stand before the poor to help them, you feel a fulfillment. That is what you were born to do. Don't judge your success by how many cars. Don't judge your success by the crowd. There's an assignment. That you are interpreting dreams as a businessman, as it were, helping Pharaoh to manage the spoils of Egypt is not your fulfillment. Your fulfillment is that you had a dream. You had a dream where your brothers bowed before you, and then you became a preservation of posterity. That is what you were born to do. There are some of you who God has raised for the widows. There are those who He has raised for the poor. There are some of you whom God has raised to reach out to His generation. There are those of you God has raised to sponsor the gospel, to pray for the gospel. Some of you God raised you as intercessors. There are times it doesn't matter how great your store is in main market. If that thing is not being done, you have not entered the place of your fulfillment. That's why there are many of us at a point of our lives when we are privileged to stand in certain places and we remember this day, the dream that we had. The dream we had. What's your dream? Thank God for the breakthroughs. But what's your dream? Your father is dying. Your brothers are hungry. Your generation is dying. Was Pharaoh's palace your dream? Was Pharaoh's palace your dream? Was the cars the dream? Have you forgotten so soon that the dream was to preserve posterity? Have you forgotten so soon that the dream was to cry out on behalf of revival? Have you forgotten so soon the dimension? There are certain people, when they go for night vigil, they feel very excited. You know why? Because they understand the place of an intercessor. A man who is not his calling will see it as a burden. See it as a burden. I don't pray to give. I don't pray. I don't pray before I give. Say, I can't seek God. I don't think it. Even God knows that if He says it, I don't confide with flesh and blood. I discuss giving with my wife most times, but not all times. Because there are certain givings that has to do with Isaac. You drop it before she hears the news. Am I speaking to somebody? Because to Sarah, Isaac was bread. But to Abraham, Isaac was a seed. Can I tell you a mystery? He said, for in thy seed shall the nations be blessed. Not in thy harvest, thy seed. Thy seed. Lift your two hands and say, Father.
Father,
this month will not end me.
this month will not end me.
I will end this month.
I will end this month.
And I will end it very well.
And I will end it very well.
Every satanic traps.
Every satanic traps
Planted in this month.
planted in this month.
Spirit of God.
Spirit of God,
As I yield to your leading.
as I yield to your leading,
Deliver me
deliver me
from all the traps.
from all the traps.
Father,
Father,
lead me
lead me
to the rock
to the rock
that is higher than now.
that is higher than now.
Do for me this month
Do for me this month
what I cannot do for myself.
what I cannot do for myself.
Lord, link me to the man
Lord, lead me to the man
that carries my testimony.
that carries my testimony.
Father,
Father,
the man that carries my fulfillment of prophecy.
that carries my fulfillment of prophecy.
Link me to the man.
Lead me to the man.
Link me to the man
Lead me to the man
that carries
that carries
my prophetic fulfillment.
my prophetic fulfillment.
Link me to the man.
Lead me to the man.
Father, this day,
Father, this day,
decorate me.
decorate me.
Announce me.
Announce me.
Lord,
Lord,
the shepherd man.
the shepherd man,
Tell them about me.
tell them about me.
Lord, I vow
Lord, I vow
to live for you
to live for you
in the name of Jesus.
in the name of Jesus.
Welcome to the month you will live to remember.
Woo!
I say, welcome to the month you will live to remember.
Hallelujah! Hey!
I say, welcome to the month you will live to remember.
Hallelujah!
In the name of Jesus. Wave those hands and just love him, love him, love him.
Shatalaba. Give you glory.
Father, we thank you. I say, love him, love him, love him.
That is higher than
I give my life to Father, everything I believe in. Now I surrender. I surrender. Savior, He can move the mountain. My God is mighty to save. He is
I'll say is the author and the finisher of our faith, not the middle. Bible didn't tell us about the middle. God will begin with God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Says, and the dove, and nothing keeps you in perpetual struggle